Welcome back, everyone, to the Healing Room, where tonight's topic of conversation is judgment and projection. So, in previous healing rooms, we've talked about the seven contemplations. And the first contemplation is it's all an illusion. This reality we're living in is a temporary construct that is forever changing. And so that which changes is illusory. It's real in the moment for the purpose of the soul's journey, but it's not reality with a capital R. It's small reality, symbolic of illusion. The goal is to move from the illusion to unity consciousness, from separation to oneness, from small r reality to big R reality. And so when we are aware that this is a construct, this is an illusion, then we don't attach so much to the external world. We see it for what it is. I call it the game of life. We're here to learn lessons, to have varying experiences, right? Of good, bad, right, wrong. And then at a certain point, we transcend this duality and we step into what I call the new paradigm, which is unity consciousness. So, first contemplation, it's all an illusion. The second contemplation is that this reality is continuously reflecting back to us our own self. Thus, there is no outside, there is no external. There is simply the self, and then the external world reflects myself back to me, informing me of my belief systems, my limited experiences, my subconscious programs, right? We observe the external world for the patterns that keep showing up, because that tells us the inner work we're here to do. Why does this keep showing up for me? Why does this type of personality keep, presenting itself to me? And then why do I have such a reaction to that personality? So the external world, being that there is no outside, is simply the screen where we project our own individual movies onto, and then that screen informs us of our belief systems: positive, negative, limited, unlimited. And so it's useful. It's useful if we can utilize it in this way. And so, because there is no outside, contemplation number 3 says, all judgment is self-judgment. So whatever I am pointing towards or going against or judging is a facet of myself. It has to be a facet of myself because there is the universal law of oneness. We all come from the same source. So if I'm seeing something outside of me that appears to be other, it's because I have cast it out of myself. I have not incorporated this part, and it exists in shadow. And then that shadow is going to present itself to me in various forms in the external world, in different actors performing in my show, in my movie, in my stage performance, right? They're going to have these qualities in order to support me in seeing what I'm not seeing and understanding what is in my subconscious that's not integrated as of yet. So every time we have that contraction internally, like, oh, that person, that contraction is informing us that there's something outside of us that I am judging, that I have disowned, that I need to integrate. And that individual or individuals or experience is a gift. And can I receive this gift? How can I receive this gift? What will it take to receive this gift? Now, this is not something that may happen overnight by any means. We come into this world with issues, right? With samskaras, with impressions from the past. So these impressions may be deep. And so it may take, quote, time to learn the lesson and integrate the shadow. And I had that growing up with a family member that really pressed my buttons, really, like, what a creation. And it took me, upwards of 60 years to own the projection, the negative projection, not consider myself to be a victim of what transpired to me, because it's very easy when judging someone else or something else that I then get to fall into the victim from that external thing. And of course, we know that the victim has no power. The victim can't heal. Only when the victim is willing to give up the story can healing begin. So for years, I held on to the victim and then, kept that individual as far away as possible, not even talking to them for years at a time. And those years were necessary to do the inner work, right? To understand within myself, why would I create this situation in my life, that caused, so I thought, so much suffering? Why would I create that? And that was the contemplation, to be with the shadow. Because I knew, I've studied spiritual texts, so I knew intellectually what the truth was, but I wasn't embodying it. I was an embodiment of the truth of integrating that shadow. So it took as long as it took in order for me to acknowledge, oh, I am that person. I have those qualities. I have those tendencies. I just didn't want to own them because I'm a spiritual being. I don't get angry. I don't behave like that. But the reality is, everything that exists in the external world exists inside of me. I'm everything: positive, negative, good, bad, right, wrong. Every germ that's out there is inside this body. This is a microcosm of the macrocosm. Therefore, what is there to push away? What is there to judge, make wrong, right? If I don't like someone in a political party, say I don't like the president or something, that's my stuff that I have to deal with. Because if I judge that individual, what am I doing? I'm giving it energy. I'm giving them my life force. I'm directing my energy externally and perpetuating the energy of that person that I supposedly don't like. So why do that? If I don't want to see something in the external world continue, why would I judge it? Why would I feed it? I'd actually want to unplug from it, not nourish it, let it dissolve, let it disappear into the ethers. And how does one do that? Through the witness. To pull back and unplug from the being, the person, the situation that I am judging or projecting on. And so I have to first cultivate the awareness that I am in a reaction. I am contracting and I'm in a reactive mode. And then once I have that awareness, I engage the witness, and then I notice the other individual. I notice the qualities that they possess, and I choose not to send my energy to them. I choose not to engage. Because when we judge, as I said earlier, we are feeding that which we are judging. We are perpetuating that reality rather than collapsing that reality. So if the goal is to live from the heart, right, to live from unity consciousness, then I want to do as much as possible to unplug from everything around me that I am seeing or perceiving or projecting as negative. Because there is darkness and shadow in the world, right? The other side of judgment is the discernment of judgment. So there's the judgment of projecting my shadow onto the world or someone else, but then there is the judgment of discerning truth from illusion. So there's two aspects of judgment. One is projection of our own shadow and negativity. The other is observing one's character, for example, and saying, I align with that, or I don't align with that. So we get to use our discerning aspects to be able to perceive through the facade or through the mask that people wear to say, oh, is this in alignment with me? Is this tribe, is this community in alignment with me? Is this restaurant in alignment with me? Right? So we get to sense through the tool of judgment, we get to sense and feel what is in alignment with my heart and soul. So we're balancing these qualities. You don't just get rid of judgment totally and then have no boundaries and then let everything in. That's not the goal either. The goal is to be able to discern from a place of witness consciousness what serves my highest good. Good. There's a lot to unpack in there. So the one thing I didn't speak about is the words of Yeshua, which really speak to all of this, are judge not lest ye be judged. Right? That is one of the, a major teaching of his, but it's a major teaching in many different traditions, but it may be said differently, but it's judge not lest you be judged, because the judgment that's happening, right, what we put forth into the world always returns to us in kind. So the continuation of that is, judge not lest ye be judged, for with the judgment you pronounce, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. So what it basically says is all of our judgments come back to us because they're all ours anyway. So it's like a boomerang. So if we want to clear up our subconscious mind, then we want to own all of our judgments and projections so that we don't perpetuate our own suffering and the suffering of others in the world. Because whenever we are in this place of judgment, we have created a connection to the person, a karmic connection. So we will look for these individuals lifetime after lifetime if we don't find a place of neutrality in relationship to them. So hence, whatever we judge will come back to us in like measure. So say, for example, I have an issue with a certain nationality and I judge those who are of this nationality. It may not happen in this lifetime, but that lesson will have to come back to me by perhaps incarnating as that nationality. I'm going to have to live into my judgments, because that's just how energy is. There's no judgment about the judgment. It's just, oh, okay, you have a charge with this, then you are going to have to live into this until you find peace with this aspect, until you find peace with every aspect of the world of duality. Step out of that reality of duality and step into unity consciousness. That's what brings us back to this reality, to this earth plane, over and over and over again, are those things that we have charges with, that we've not integrated. And you can call them judgments, call them projections. And so that is what that's information remains in the mental body. And that mental body is what reincarnates over and over again. And so the goal is to dissolve that mental body, is to dissolve all those impressions, all those thoughts, all those judgments, until we get to that place where the ego is pure witness consciousness. Just like in the meditation, witness consciousness. That is the return home. Witness consciousness.